This is the second video tutorial for the X-Craft's ERJ-175 Regional Jet Aircraft FMS. Essentially what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of bounce around a couple of the pages so you get a feel for how to navigate the interface. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I just want to be sure that we have an understanding of how we get from place to place. For example, right here we've got the index screen, and on the top left we've got the status page. Let's take a trip to the status page right now. Just go ahead and click on that button, and here we are. Some very basic information as to what the airplane's at, what the airplane's doing, where it's at. I've already taken the liberty of loading up some flight plan and procedures data so that we can look at those pages too. You'll also see here that we have an entry for MCDU index. Note that it's the only field that has an arrow pointing to a button, so this is the only functional button right here, except for the button that will allow you to swap back and forth between Celsius and Fahrenheit. This is kind of what you'll see for a button that toggles between different possibilities. In this particular case, it just happens to be what temperature scale you're using. But here's the only button right now with an arrow. This is the only one that's going to do something for you external to this page, so let's go there now. And of course it takes us back to the MCDU index. If I wanted to enter a departure, in other words, a SID, get started entering a SID, I'll go to the departure page. Here I've already entered the identifier for Tucson, and I've selected a runway. We also have a runway selector here. This is the first time I would actually end up using the knob to select my runway. So as you can see here, as I click to the right, I'm advancing from the top to the bottom in a clockwise direction on the knob. Counterclockwise, I go from the bottom to the top. The selected runway, right now we've selected runway 29 left. If I hit the middle of the button, I now have runway 29 left selected. The same, of course, goes for SID data. In this particular case, there doesn't happen to be any information for runway 29 left. Same thing goes for transitions, though. If I wanted to use a transition instead of a departure, well, I can go ahead and use the knob selector here. And here, of course, we see a situation where we have more than one page. I go back and forth between the two pages using previous and next. One thing to notice, if you get all the way to the beginning and you go further previous to that, you actually end up at the end of the list. The same thing happens if you're at the end of the list and you continue to go next, you'll go back to the beginning automatic. It just loops around that way, and that way it makes things a little bit easier in terms of navigation. If you have a list of 7, that's 7 pages long, you don't have to completely go all the way back to the beginning. You can actually just loop around from the end to the beginning. In some particular cases, that can be a shortcut. Here, we're not going to be going back to the MCDU index. We're going to go back to the departure page. Lower left is basically a back button of sorts. So there you have it in terms of entering and navigating the various screens. You've got use of the knob, and here we can see the radio page. Go back to the index. It really is just that easy. Of course, you kind of need to know where you're going when you're navigating, but we'll cover these pages in succeeding tutorials. No need to worry there. We're going to hit it all. That's all, my friends. See you next video.